September 21st, 1945. That was the day I died. And it's how the movie starts. Soon after, we see Seita and little Setsuko's spirits on a train, sitting with their living selves. They get off at a different stop. Right away, we know that the movie has a sad ending. It's different from Akiyuki Nosaka's book, but it sets a tone for the movie. Perhaps director Isao Takahata wanted to mentally prepare viewers for the devastating story to come, with a bit of kindness by hinting that the siblings would be together again. His scene in Grave of the Fireflies tells us right away that it's not a fairy tale with a happy ending. It's a tough look at real life, showing the realities of human nature and how we're built to persevere when things get really tough. Today, let's take a look into what we can learn from the movie Grave of the Fireflies.
Firefetch'd.
Why do fireflies die so fast? Setsuko the little girl asks her brother. This big metaphor tells us two details, one about dying and one about how bright they were before they leave. Similarly, these two bright young people, they pay attention to the little details they have in life, just like all of us when we were kids. The moments of fun, simplicity, and childlike innocence brings us all back to when we were kids too. And that's why it's really easy to sympathize with Seita having to make tough decisions while he was still a kid, or to see Setsuko's skinny body unable to move. We sympathize with how full of life they were at the beginning and how quickly a war brought them to nothing. The powerlessness of a child, yet contrasted with bright minds. In the scene of flashbacks, knowing the story's sad ending, we meet our characters. We see Kobe getting bombed by American forces. The kids are desperately looking for shelter where the mom was supposed to be. Upon realizing that the mom was hurt, they were left with a mean aunt who didn't care much about them. Seita, fed up with his aunt's cruelty, decides to leave and take care of his little sister by himself. Upon leaving, they were faced with the troubles of wartime. Food being scarce, they ended up stealing from local farmers and looting houses during bombings to feed his sister. Though it's never enough, and Setsuko starts showing signs of being malnourished. Through these tiny details, the film unravels the truth behind what goes on when a country is at war. The unexpected truth is, more than just an animated film, Grave of the Fireflies reflects the real-life experiences of its creator. The book was published in 1967 and quickly became one of the world's best portrayals of that tough time in Japan's history. It is still studied today to show the horrors of war. Not only did Nosaka get a lot of offers to turn his story into a movie over the years, he kindly turned them down because he didn't think a movie could capture the devastating situation he wrote about. It's only years later, when he saw the storyboards that Isao Takahata of Studio Ghibli had drawn, that he changed his mind. Studio Ghibli had offered to adapt it into an animated film, and Nosaka was then intrigued by the idea, realizing that animation was the only way to properly convey the depth of his story. And they were right. Through these scenes, the movie ended up being one of the most heartbreaking stories ever made into animated film. Isao Takahata created a deeply human movie, focusing on the lives of his two main characters without any fancy visual effects or tricks. It vividly shows the harsh realities of war, with characters who are far from heroic, just people like you and me. The movie conveys a clear description of not just the events, but also how they affect people and society. Families torn apart, cities destroyed, children left without parents or access to education. Within all of these descriptions is a belief in victory, no matter what it takes. We can see that when Seita proudly wears her father's military cap, a society willing to sacrifice everything for their country. This is seen in siblings, aunt, the adults in the city who accept Seita and Setsuko for sacrifices they must make. A noticeable dehumanization, sense of apathy from these adults that's truly horrifying, all for the sacrifices they must make for their country. Another focus is on the children's aunt, a cold woman lacking any empathy for Seita and Setsuko, despite witnessing them become orphans, contempt and mistreatment of the children, showing the cruelest side of humanity. Not only that, Seita and Setsuko were often deemed as neglecting their duty as Japanese citizens. They don't deserve the food that the aunt cooks. When they decide to leave, the aunt doesn't stop them, leaving them to fend for themselves in a ruined country just when they were 14. The selfishness doesn't just stop there. The aunts, daughter, and other relatives act the same way. Even the local farmers, who Seita steals from to feed his dying sister, shows no compassion. The worst part is when Seita takes Setsuko to the doctor, and he coldly informs them that his sister is dying of starvation, but does nothing to help, despite the extreme situation already evident. Throughout the movie are scenes that capture both the best and worst of humanity. On one hand, it shows people who have the power to help others but choose to neglect them. On the other hand, it portrays eternal struggle of the siblings trying to grapple onto their humanity. In the toughest moments, especially in the context of war, will the best of human nature shine through. In the movie, it does seem like the only ones who were really human were the two siblings, mainly because they don't fully grasp the tragedy that they're living through. Everyone around them seems to belong in another world, one where indifference and insensitivity reign supreme. While at times, the extreme harshness of the film may seem merciless to the viewer, especially considering the main characters are defenseless children. It makes sense because in every war, the worst victim in every aspect are precisely the children. In fact, the production serves as a reminder for younger generations of the horrors of war they haven't experienced but their country has. Japan has always acknowledged its tragedies for them to learn. For example, children of the Nagasaki and Hiroshima go to school during the summer on the day where the atomic bomb devastated their cities. At the exact hour, they remember the terrible moment. Not much so to dwell on it, but to raise awareness and prevent such a thing from happening again. In this case, the animation serves as a bridge between generations told through animation. Although it's set in a local context, the universal theme that we all understand, seen through the eyes of those who suffered the most, is definitely the children. Perhaps that's why the metaphor of Fireflies fits so well into this story. They die quickly and represent the fragility and fleetingness of life, its beauty and its innocence and how bright we shine. The gorgeous but don't last long, just like the lives of their mother and the innocence of these children stolen by war. And like the brief moments of happiness they manage to find, good things, no matter how beautiful and innocent, are fragile. No matter how tightly we hold on to those, they all come to an end. Maybe life only gives us a few rare moments of happiness and purpose, and only then, all we can do is to cherish those rare moments of joy. But beyond its harsh portrayal of the devastating effects of war, the movie goes beyond its historical setting to reflect on the universal and timeless themes. One of these themes are the moral dilemma that Seita faces when he is forced to steal food from local farmers. In a world that has its economy collapsed, where the strongest prevail, how much are people willing to ensure their own survival and that of their loved ones? The extreme situation tests the value and ethical principles that make up the foundation of society. Seita, young and inexperienced, is put in a position where he has to make life or death decisions no child should ever make. The desperation to feed his little sister leads him to cross a moral boundary. But can he really be blamed when he is fighting to protect an innocent life? Are there limits to what we're willing to do to protect our loved ones? But the one most important thing that Grave of the Fireflies teaches us is that as a society, we have the responsibility to create a world where children, or our next generation, can grow up healthy and safe, free from the horrors of war, hunger, and abandonment. Seita and Setsuko were innocent with their whole lives ahead of them, but the harsh realities of war destroyed that. To summarize, the importance of the story goes beyond its borders, showcasing raw betrayal of human nature. Its universal power allows anyone, anywhere in the world to understand. I think it's one of those necessary to watch films that shows emotion like it's true art. So let me know what you learned from Grave of the Fireflies, and I'll catch you all next time.